So today I'm going to be doing a debrief about a memorial ritual that I did on the weekend and sharing a bit about how we can work with the unseen world and how we can create space for them to communicate through nature, through elements, and through allocating items or candles, etc., for them to speak with us through. So on the weekend, I was able to be part of helping host and hold a really beautiful, meaningful memorial for Yasmeen Oyla. For any of you that know, check it. I'll put her links in below and you can listen to her music and see her art. And one of the guidance I had when I was really tapping into her, I was like, what do you want? Like, how can we, what kind of ritual would really reflect you and your life as a person? And the image I had was so vivid. I just saw us being by the sea and making a flower mandala or some kind of flower art, and just doing it really close to the shore so that we could watch it start to kind of get taken by the water and by the waves. And I just know she loved flowers, and so I was creating a palette of petals for that. And there was something that I've noticed that's really special about doing rituals outside, and that's why I do a 6-month course called the Ritualist Path coming up, where we go outside and do rituals into the winter with fires and with all the wild elements, because there's a certain kind of conversation and magic and information that we can get from being with nature, because nature is a living, breathing communication device as well. So while we were at the beach, it was really special because somebody had brought a harp, and there was these key moments where we would be doing some prayer for her, and the wind would just, like, especially near the end when we're about to close, and this wind came really strongly and it ripped through the harp, and the harp just the wind played the harp really loudly, and it was so palpable, that feeling of her speaking through the wind, through the harp. And so I've had experiences like that with the unseen world and a lot of the time when I'm working with inviting the voice of an unseen or a deceased being into a space, I find it's really important to allocate something that they can communicate towards or with. I actually have a light bulb I haven't used it for a while, but it's called the spirit light bulb. And I used to have it set up in my treatment space because the spirits would speak through it by it like flickering madly. And I let that be a place that they could communicate through the light. So if I was working with a client and all of a sudden one of their ancestors really needed to come through, like the light would start flickering. And so that was an agreement that I had with this spirit light. And so you can do that with simple things too. You can do that with a candle that you light intentionally to invite that as a communication tool. And the key is, though, and this is with the Psychic-Soma practice, is how do we receive and decipher informations from our bodies, from our physical surroundings. So it's one thing to set that intention, be like, this candle is for you to communicate through. And it's another thing to keep tracking it. And when we are tracking information coming through us, there's the different points of awareness that you need to be aware of, right? So in the case of a candle, I would be aware of, maybe the candle's going to start flickering. So instead of just noticing, oh, that's flickering, I will track around, okay, what was just said? What am I feeling in my body right now? Do I have any first intuitive hits on what that flash means? Is there like affirmative? Is it something, or do I feel nervous? Like there's an anxiety. And so when you're playing with the Psychic-Soma approach, you're starting to track all these surrounding points of reference to compile the information that is coming to you from the psychic world. And so, yeah, that was really beautiful. Another thing that it was special was, and you can check my Instagram feed, I think a few posts down, I actually show a picture of the mandala. If you're in my newsletter, then you'll see it. And then when we got to our space, I took a couple pictures really intuitively, and I just felt, I'm like, I think I'm supposed to take some pictures just of this like altar area. There's no people in it. And this beautiful spirit orb came in with like a rainbow, like a whole streak of rainbow. It was very Yasmeen style. She's all about color. And so I felt like, they also can communicate through technology. They can communicate through the pictures that we take. And so that's something you could also do, is invite them if they want to have their photo taken, you know, like if there's information that they like, taking a photo and really looking in those photos. Like I love looking for orbs. It's something that once you get an eye for it, you can start seeing it, where a lot of people don't see it until you're like, you actually can show it, and it becomes a muscle. And like, oh wait, that little imperfection, if I hone in on it, it's actually this orb, like with a heart in the center, which was one we found near my mom's heart the other day. It was like a green orb with a little heart, and it was a picture of her holding up her Mother's Day gift that I had brought her when she was far away from me. So those are a few pieces on working with the elements, and the idea of listening too when we're creating rituals is, how do we design a ritual that honors the essence that we're trying to create? And in honoring that essence, how do we slow down? And like that process of slowing down and removing my own expectation or desires of what that ritual was going to look like. In fact, we had to change the location like 5 days before the memorial, which was perfect. But it was like realizing that when we're working with holding ritual space, there's all these different variables that come together to create the ecosystem of that prayer to be realized and explored and experienced. So if you are specifically in a place where you are starting to need to prepare a ritual coming up, or specifically a memorial, that would be the questions I would sit with yourself with, listening in. Is there something about this person that I know their spirit would love to have exemplified through how we celebrate? Is the other piece I wanted to add in here is just specifically around when we're honoring the dead, the nearly deceased, is I like to think of them also as, what did they represent to me? What did that person's, like if that person was an archetype in my life and they were holding this like archetypal imprint in my psyche, which is something that we get into in Psychic-Soma, and how different people hold different archetypal imprints, which means that when we have dreams with certain people in it, it doesn't always mean that it's about that person, but that question of tracking, okay, well, how did I feel when I saw this person in my dream? What does this person symbolize to me? What quality of myself are they holding? And then how do we create rituals around that quality that we feel like we really want to honor? So that's a little bit about that. And I also wanted to just post for any of you that are on Salt Spring, we have some spots left for the upcoming whole day Psychic-Soma retreat. And we're going to be doing a lot of work outside in the wild, in the forest, with the elements, as well as inside, so that we can start to play with receiving informations from nature and from our bodies and from how we relate to our environments, and that there is a conversation that is always happening beneath the surface. And so how do we kind of sink a little bit lower and start tracking that, those guidance and reference points that are around us, by making space for that desire to understand them. So sending love to you all. Hope you are enjoying this cozy fall descent. And until next, ciao.